Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 psychological thriller Fractured, a film that is directed by Brad Anderson, and it stars Sam Worthington as Ray Monroe, Lily Rabe as Joanne Monroe, we have Lucy Capri who plays their daughter Perry Monroe, and we have Stephen Tobolowsky also making an appearance in this film. Now this is a new Netflix film that initially I wasn't that interested in. I think Netflix have got a pretty good record, certainly over this last 12 months or so, of producing some pretty good movies. I think that's fair to say. However, this one kind of went under my radar for a few days. I wasn't overly interested in it, and then I started hearing some really good things about this film. And this film focuses on Sam Worthington's character, Ray Monroe, who is travelling with his family, his wife and daughter, and they are heading cross country for Thanksgiving to the in-laws, I believe it is. And while on this trip, they stop off at a gas station. The family dynamics aren't particularly good. He keeps falling out with his wife, and while they're stopping at this gas station, their daughter has an accident and breaks her arm. They manage to get to the local hospital, and while she goes downstairs to have a CAT scan to check her head to make sure that there is no breakages or in regards to fractures in the skull, even though she has a broken arm, she heads downstairs to get the CAT scan, and then he wakes up a couple of hours later in the waiting room because he very tired, and there is no sign of his wife and daughter, and he gets increasingly frustrated and anxious about this situation, that no one can find where his wife and daughter is, and apparently there seems to be no evidence that they ever entered the hospital with him at all. So this becomes a massive panic and fight for him to find his missing family. That's essentially what this movie is. Now, on the very surface of it, that sounds reasonably interesting, fairly bog standard stuff, but certainly interesting. And I've got to tell you guys, this film blew me away. I absolutely loved this film. I'll hold my hands up and say I'm not Sam Worthington's biggest fan. I think he was overhyped too early with his Avatar appearances and the Terminator stuff, Salvation, and he made a few wrong career choices, I think it's fair to say. And I can't think of many things he's done that has impressed me. Well, this is by far and away his most impressive performance. He plays an absolutely tortured character in this film. And as a father myself, trying to put myself in the situation that he is in, he's absolutely desperate in this film, and you can completely sense it. And this film, its real strength here is this fine balancing act between what is going on, what has happened to his family. Is there something sinister going on at this hospital, which it does a really good job at hinting at, and getting you to read the signs that he's kind of seeing. He sees some weird things, and they keep asking these odd questions, and something just doesn't seem quite right. So is it right that there's something happened to him in the and they are somewhere in this hospital being held against their will, which he eventually comes to there has to be that's the case, or is there something more sinister going on in regards to him and his mental health, which the hospital psychiatrist is suggesting to him? And you genuinely do not know what is the truth until the truth is revealed, and this film does a really good job of masking that, that not knowing generates the tension for this film and keeps your interest up throughout this film, and you really desperate to know what is going on right to the very end. And when the ending takes place, for me it worked perfectly. I really enjoyed the whole film. I really did. I thought it was wonderfully made. I think films like this, they've got to generate tension and fear and anxiety, and you've got to relate to this character, and you absolutely do. It taps into certainly your fears as a parent, and it just does such a great job at that, this film. And it's one of those Netflix films you watch a bit like Birdcage last year with the Sandra Bullock film, this deserves a cinema release. I think it would have done wonderfully well at the cinema, and I'm sure it's going to find a huge audience on Netflix, because it's one of those films that you will initially look at and think, yeah, I'll watch it at some point. But I do genuinely recommend that you watch this film. It will keep you gripped throughout, because you'll want to know the answers. And Sam Worthington delivers such an intense, powerful central performance. It's totally believable. And I've got a newfound respect for him as an actor. I got a little bit of a, while you were watching it, you kind of thinking all these things that could be happening, and I got a little bit of a like Jacob's Ladder stroke coma vibe of this film. It's a bit like a combination of those two films, like stirred in the pot at the same time, with its own twist added into it. It's a really, really good film. I thoroughly enjoyed it, far more than I expected to, and it's one of those, for me, surprise films that comes on. You get a few of these a year that pop along that you've no idea about, you've never heard of. They just get released, whether it be at cinema or on Netflix, and they turn out to be cracking films, and this is certainly one of them. So from my perspective, guys, I strongly recommend that you watch Fractured. I don't think you'll be disappointed. For me, it kept me gripped throughout. It really did. And I consider myself a reasonably intelligent person. I can usually figure out sometimes in films, if they're not made particularly well, what's going on. And this kept me in the dark for the most part. I'm not saying it will you, but it certainly did its job with me. So I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It was a real surprise package for me, this. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Strongly recommend it. So get yourself out there, get your Netflix turned on and watch Fractured. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time for more reviews on Screen Stars.